The governor of the central bank there has announced the formation of a fund worth about 5 billion Egyptian pounds to help investors develop and upgrade tourist facilities. Now, that includes hotels, resorts, and even the Nile boats that are very common in the country. Funding will be available as loans with a 10% interest rate. Egypt's tourism sector, as you're probably aware, has been struggling ever since Russia and a number of European countries suspended direct passenger flights to the very popular Egyptian resorts of Sharm El-Sheikh in the South Sinai region in late 2015. The flight bans came after the bombing of a Russian passenger jet in Sinai in October that year. All of the countries that imposed flight bans, with the exception of Russia and the United Kingdom, resumed flights to the resort city by the middle of 2016. Let's get some more details on this particular story. Yasser Kim joins me now live from Egypt, capital of Cairo. Yasser, aside from owning 30% of the facility they want to borrow to invest in, to either expand or renovate, what other conditions do potential borrowers need to meet in order to be able to borrow from this 5 billion Egyptian pound fund?
Well, Rama, first of all, there has to be proof that this investor is serious in going forward with his plans, and that he has been serious before in his plans to either renovate or build his new complex or investment or hotel, whatever. So a proof of seriousness. Second of all the material used in the renovation should be produced locally. So no imports, first of all, to avoid more consumption of the rare dollars, a hard currency, so by using local material, and also to avoid expenses from tariffs of imported material that will be used. So it has to be all using locally produced material. Third of all, there must be an employment rate for youth, so every investor has to employ a certain number, depending on the project, of youth into the project to help ease the unemployment problem that came out of this issue, and obviously to be ready to repay the loan. Probably it's been a 2-year grace period in addition to the 10% interest rate.
Indeed, that's a fairly long list of conditions to comply with. But let's look at the fund itself. It's worth about the rough equivalent in dollar terms of about $278 million. How exactly is it structured, and where is the money coming from? I mean, is all of this cash, or a fraction of it, just coming from the central bank and a bit of it coming from commercial banks?
It's a fraction, which is a big fraction. 75% of the fund will be coming from the central bank and its affiliates, the 3 government-owned banks, state-owned banks, which is Al-Ahli Bank, the National Bank of Egypt, Misr Bank, and Bank du Caire, the 3 banks, with the funding from the central bank. 25% will be from the private sector. That's a simple, quick structure of this fund.
Indeed, but given all those issues, I mean, like the commercial banks you've just mentioned, National Bank of Egypt, Bank Misr, Bank du Caire, I mean, at the end of the day, besides being state-owned, they are commercial entities. So why are they putting cash into this fund instead of just lending directly to these facility owners? What's the return for them doing it this way?
Well, first of all, probably the central bank wants to make sure that this file is independent and that it will be under its supervision to study each investor request alone. Second of all, I think for a legal reason, most of these investors already have loans in the banks, independently, obviously, and they are probably, most of them have defaulted in these loans and they have reached their limits. So legal-wise, they're not allowed to take any more loans if they go straight to the bank. So I think this fund has been made as a leeway to avoid the legal hassles of approving new loans for investors who have already defaulted in their own loans before that they have with these banks. And this fund will help ease this bureaucratic or legal issue.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you very much for the update. That's Yasser Kim live in Cairo.